Before I start, let's introduce myself. I'm Tan Ching Ting with metric number 288594. We are from Group A and going to compare the government structure and ethical principle between Berjaya Food Berhad, Mr. DIY Group Berhad, and In-Nature Berhad. We choose to analyze Berjaya Food Berhad, Mr. DIY Group Berhad, and In-Nature Berhad from the consumer product and services sector that are listed in the main market of the FTSE4 Group Bursa Malaysia Index. These three selection companies are engaging in the provision of integrated consumer service, food and beverage. Berjaya Food Berhad is a public limited company and has been publicly traded on the Bursa Malaysia main market. It has developed and operates retail outlets and restaurant chains in Malaysia and other Southeast Asian countries. The subsidiaries include Berjaya Starbucks Coffee Company Sendirian Berhad, Berjaya Roasted Sendirian Berhad, and Roasted Asia Pacific Limited. Mr. DIY Group Berhad is publicly listed in Bursa Malaysia as an investment holding company. It supplies home renovation supply and mass merchandise through its subsidiary as well as online retailers. It operates over 600 stores across Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Brunei, and Philippines. The store offers an average of 20,000 products at always low price in 10 categories. In-Nature Berhad is an investment holding company that has been publicly listed on Bursa Malaysia. It is a leading regional retailer of cosmetic and personal care products in Malaysia, Vietnam, and Cambodia. The body shop is dedicated to producing high-quality and organic-inspired body care, skin care, hair care, and cosmetic products.
My name is Feng Sihui. I'll be presenting about the corporate culture, ethical safeguards, and programs to encourage virtual values among employees. Based on Berjaya Food Berhad's mission statement, they are dedicated to cultivating a performance-based culture which embraces the value of diversity, self-growth, and respecting each other. Additionally, the company also strives to maximize customers' satisfaction, generating a profitable rate of return for its shareholders, and conducting business in socially and environmentally responsible manners. Their vision includes becoming the leading food and beverage organization with a portfolio of highly recognized brands which leads to sustainable growth and profitable returns for its stakeholders. Moreover, the mission of Mr. DIY is dedicated to creating a globally recognized retail brand and offering everyone everything every day at always low prices, while their vision is to become the most valued retailer. On the other hand, In-Nature Berhad's mission aims to utilize their business and strive to make a positive influence on its employees, customers, communities, and the environment. Subsequently, their vision focuses on a future in which both the humanity and the planet can flourish. Based on the mission and vision statements of these three companies, it can be concluded that Berjaya Food Berhad and Mr. DIY place customers' satisfaction as their main priority, whereas In-Nature Berhad aims to create a positive changes to the community and environment through its business. Moving on, we will also be discussing about the corporate values of these three companies. Berjaya Food Berhad embraces certain values within its corporate structure which include a culture of honesty, open communications, mutual respect, teamwork, dedication to long-term growth, and the principles of accountability, integrity, and ethics. This leads to a significant reduction in employee turnover rate from 30% in financial year 2020 to 15% in financial year 2023. On the other hand, Mr. DIY also embraces values such as integrity, transparency, accountability, diversity, inclusion, and affordable pricing, with 90% of its employees express satisfaction working with the company in financial year 2022, which reflects the successful utilization of the corporate values. Moving on, In-Nature Berhad prioritizes diversity, equity, and inclusivity to foster a positive business environment. The company also achieved a milestone in 2023 by becoming the first publicly listed certified B Corp in Southeast Asia, signifying high standards of verified performance, accountability, and transparency across various aspects, including employee benefits and charitable giving. Generally, In-Nature Berhad has been included in the FTSE4Good Bursa Malaysia and FTSE4Good Bursa Malaysia Sharia indexes with a 4-star rating, while the other two companies are given 3-star rating respectively. After assessing the corporate cultures of each company, all companies have emphasized their commitment to a fair and inclusive workplaces. Berjaya Food Berhad and Mr. DIY both highlight their achievement in reducing the employee turnover rate and a high employee satisfaction rate respectively, which indicates a focus on positive working culture. On the other hand, Inature Berhad stands out for its belief in making a positive difference through education and its B Corp certification. In order to foster an ethical corporate culture, all three companies have incorporated several similar ethical safeguards, which include a code of conduct, a zero-tolerance policy against bribery and corruption, whistleblowing and grievance channels, no gift and bribery policies, and an effective system of risk management. However, Mr. DIY and Inature Berhad have a special policy on mitigating conflict of interest, which Berjaya Food Berhad has not implemented. Inature Berhad also has an employees handbook which outlines the appropriate workplace behavior of the employees. In order to encourage virtuous values among the employees, all three companies have their own trainings and development programs to ensure that each employee is aware of the policies and ethical standards to encourage qualities such as integrity, accountability, and inclusive among themselves. Based on the information, Mr. DIY has invested in the highest training hours, followed by Berjaya Food Berhad and Inature Berhad. Moreover, the company also focuses on employees' engagement programs within organization and voluntary activities, as they believe that there should be a work-life balance for the employees while creating a positive working environment. Besides, each employee also has its own anti-discrimination stance, with Berjaya Food Berhad emphasizing disabled employees through its collaboration with the Society of Interpreters for the Deaf, and Inature Berhad focuses on youth and women empowerment through its activism campaign, while there is no special emphasis for Mr. DIY. However, Mr. DIY has introduced an employees share option scheme that benefits the employees and was not implemented by the other two companies. It is believed that these initiatives are essential in fostering and encouraging virtual values among the employees through acknowledgement and inclusivity.
Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. My name is Chai Sinru 2F574. I represent the part of whistleblowing policy and anti-bribery and corruption policy for these three companies. Whistleblowing refers to reporting for wrongdoing of one another in one community. The whistleblowing policy seeks to encourage staff members and other individuals with legitimate concerns about any aspect of the council's operations to come forward and express them. According to the annual report of Berjaya Food Berhad, Inature Berhad, and Mr. DIY in 2022, these three companies have applied and implemented the whistleblowing policy effectively. For Berjaya Food Berhad, the Supplier Code of Conduct and the Starbucks Global Human Rights Statements must be complied with by all vendors and suppliers. This code is valid for all vendors, both new and old. For Inature Berhad, the code speak out and whistleblowing policies offer a channel for disclosing misconduct by staff members or other relevant parties while safeguarding the rights of the informants. The group can more successfully address issues that impact its interest and reputation via the speak out channel. For Mr. DIY, all workers, outside parties, and members of the public are free to voice concerns in confidence regarding any unlawful, unethical, or dubious practices and misconducts involving the group without fear of retaliation through the appropriate channel. The first similarity between these three companies is all of them can offer a proper channel for their employees to speak out the unethical attitudes at the management level. The employees in Berjaya Berhad can report any misbehavior via email to the Senior Independent Director and Chief Executive Officer of the company. And in Inature Berhad, the employees can report the issues to his or her manager or human resource representative, otherwise can report the issues through the Speak Out channel, speakout@inature.com.my. In Mr. DIY, a whistleblower can make a report in two ways. First, a whistleblower may write to the whistleblowing unit about the improper conduct. Second, a whistleblower may fill out the whistleblowing form and email it to the whistleblowing unit at mywhistleblower@mrdiy.com. The second similarity is the whistleblowing policy will be reviewed regularly by these three companies. For Berjaya Food Berhad, the partners will review the policy periodically as part of due diligence. For Inature Berhad, the committee will review and discuss about the disclosure made by whistleblowers through speak-out channels. For Mr. DIY, the Audit and Risk Management Committee, ARMC, is entrusted by the board to ensure the efficient administration of the group's whistleblowing policy and procedures by supervising their implementation and monitoring. The third similarity is the personal data of the whistleblower will be hidden to protect the whistleblower's human rights. The fourth similarity is there is no human rights incidents or whistleblowing reporting during the reporting period, which is year 2022 for Berjaya Berhad, Inature Berhad, and Mr. DIY. Overall, all three companies have implemented whistleblowing policy effectively. Offering, providing, or receiving something of value to persuade someone to behave or to compensate someone for doing so is known as bribery. Anti-bribery and corruption policy (ABC) is enforced to reduce the number of cases related to corruption in the companies. Based on the annual report of Berjaya Food Berhad, Inature Berhad, and Mr. DIY in 2022, all of them followed and implemented the anti-bribery and corruption policies effectively. There are three similarities between these three companies. The first similarity is all of them practice the zero tolerance policy against all forms of corruption and bribery in daily business operations. For Berjaya Food Berhad, it has its own zero tolerance policy, which consists of 5 standards, which are accountability, openness, continuous improvement, transparency, and non-gift and bribery. For Inature Berhad, it is mandatory for the board, senior management, and staff to refrain from engaging in any kind of corruption, offering or accepting bribes, or requesting favors or satisfaction in return for contracts or advantages. For Mr. DIY, the company is dedicated to maintaining the greatest standards of ethics and quality of honesty in all its business interactions, abstaining from all forms of bribery and corruption in its day-to-day operations. The second similarity is all of these three companies will review the ABC policy regularly to make sure it stays current with the most recent advancements. The third similarity is all of them will give equal opportunities to their employees to receive education and training in anti-bribery and corruption. There is another difference between Berjaya Food Berhad and the other two companies, which is the board developed and accepted the trust concept, which consists of 5 guiding principles. The first principle is top-level commitment. The second principle is risk management assessment. The third principle is undertake control measures. The fourth principle is systematic review and monitoring. And the fifth principle is training and communication. The next difference between Berjaya Food Berhad and the other two companies is Berjaya Food Berhad evaluates the risk of corruption and bribery for intermediaries, which includes all contractors, subcontractors, outside parties, and agents. Berjaya Food Berhad successfully informs these middlemen of these policies and procedures, particularly for high-risk operations. This risk assessment aids the group in creating high-level preventive assessments, solutions, and implementation plans to thwart possible bribery, corruption, and fraud. Overall, all of them have applied and implemented the anti-bribery and corruption policy successfully. All of them have not faced any fines or legal action related to bribery or corruption. Among them, Berjaya Food Berhad has the most anti-corruption and bribery policies among the 3 companies. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
My name is Ali, so now I'll continue with the part of corporate social responsibility. So basically, it is a business model by which companies make a concerted effort to operate in ways that enhance rather than degrade society and the environment. It helps to improve various aspects of society as well as promote a positive brand image for companies. Corporate responsibility programs can also raise morale in the workplace. It often brought into 4 categories, which is economic responsibility, legal responsibility, ethical responsibility, and philanthropic responsibility. So some companies may also have the environmental responsibility. This slide has shows the level of CSR that did by Berjaya Food Berhad in 2020. As we can see, these companies focus more on the philanthropic responsibility and the least practice is economic responsibility. So there are some examples that carry out in each level of CSR. This slide shows the level of CSR that did by Inature Berhad in 2020. From our finding, we noticed that these companies focus more on the philanthropic responsibility and environmental responsibility. Besides, the least practice is legal responsibility. So here are some of the examples that carry out in each level of CSR. This slide has shown the level of CSR that did by Mr. DIY. As we can see, philanthropic responsibility and environmental responsibility was focused more by these companies, and the least practice is the economic responsibility. And we also noticed that this company does not do any legal and ethical responsibility. To sum up, Inature Berhad and Berjaya Food Berhad have both effectively fulfilled all aspects of CSR. Notably, Inature Berhad recognized the main advantages of CSR and laid a strong emphasis on its implementations. It understands that CSR does more than just increase revenues, but also help to ensure long-term sustainability, cultivate strong connections with communities, and create public trust. Inature Berhad's dedication to CSR is notable for its emphasis on
environmental responsibility. This is because the company understands that environmental problems have a significant effect on all living things. Therefore, it takes significant steps to minimize its ecology imprint and decrease pollutions. So now I'll continue with the chapter of board of director. So normally a company's board of director will need to comply with the Malaysia Code of Corporate Governance, which is also called MCCG, and the main listing requirements. In order to make sure whether the company's board of director comply with these requirements, we will analyze it from the perspective of compositions, independence, diversity, and CO duality. After that, we also will compare the factor of the main listing requirements in terms of the number of independent directors, directors in trainings, and the number of the directorships in listed issuers. This slide shows the analysis of the board structures for each company and the result of whether complies with MCCG. In the perspective of compositions, Berjaya Food Berhad and Mr. DIY have complied with the MCCG, which at least 50% of the boards are independent directors, except for in Nature Berhad. It only shows 60% of the boards are independent directors. For the independency, Berjaya Foods Berhad and Mr. DIY still fulfill the criteria of independency, but it does not fulfill for the in Nature Berhad. In the standpoint of diversity, all companies successful make diversity in gender, which MCCG requires at least 30% of the boards are women directors. Lastly, we can see that all company does not exist the CEO duality. The positions of the chairman and CEO are held by two different individuals. Next is the compliance with main listing requirement. In assessing compliance with the main listing requirements among these companies, key factors such as the number of independent directors, director trainings, and the limit on directorship in listed issuer are crucial considerations. In the standpoint of the number of independent directors, all companies comply with the main listing requirements, which having at least one-third of their board's members are independent directors. In terms of director trainings, Berjaya Food Berhad and Mr. DIY have made sure all their directors successfully completed the mandatory accreditation programs except for Inature Berhad. Furthermore, adherence to the limit on directorship in listed issuer is evident across all companies. Each company confirm their directors do not hold more than 5 directorships in listed issuer, showcasing consistency with regulatory requirement. Overall, we can say that Berjaya Food Berhad and Mr. DIY have totally fulfilled the main listing requirement.
Good day, Doctor. I'm Yu Sing. Matrix number is 289801. I'll be presenting the sustainability part in this assignment. The sustainability statements of Berjaya Food Berhad, B Food, Mr. DIY Group M Berhad, and In Nature Berhad reveals that both striking similarities and notable differences in their approaches to key stakeholders. These common stakeholders including government and regulators, customers, suppliers, media, employees, and investors. For the first one is the government and regulators. All three corporations engage in meetings and discussions with regulators, ensuring compliance with regulations and guidelines. BFood, for example, adapted working arrangements to comply with COVID-19 regulations. This interaction established a positive relationship with authorities, fostering a collaborative approach to sustainability. Despite this commonality, differences may exist in the specific policies each company addresses. And then for the second one, BFood, Mr. DIY, and In Nature prioritize customer satisfaction through various initiatives. BFood focuses on for offering a variety of quality and healthy food. Mr. DIY pledges affordability and a seamless transition between online and physical stores, while In Nature emphasizes transparency and customer engagement through loyalty programs and regular interactions. The specific strategies for customer engagement may differ among the three companies. And then for the third one is suppliers. Interactions with suppliers are deliberate efforts to advance sustainable practices in the supply chain. BFood engages with suppliers through frequent meetings, while Mr. DIY encourages effective communication and collaboration. In-Nature performs routine audits and evaluations to ensure high-quality products and compliance with standards. The nuance in how each company collaborates with suppliers may contribute to differences in their sustainability practices. Okay, so as you can see from the slides, the fourth stakeholder, which is the employees. Employees are recognized as essential stakeholders, and all three companies share a commitment to their well-being. Initiatives include regular physical exercises, a focus on professional and personal growth, and benefits such as healthcare and transportation reimbursements. BFood particularly emphasizes equal opportunities for employees with disabilities. While the commitment to employees is a similarity, differences may exist in the specific programs and initiatives implemented by each company. So moving forward is the immediate. Maintaining regular contact with mainstream media is a shared strategy among the corporations. They utilize press release and interviews to communicate important developments and corporate social responsibility (CSR) initiatives, contributing to a positive public image. However, differences may exist in the frequency and nature of media engagement activities. And then the next one will be the investors, also known as shareholders. Transparent and timely communication with shareholders and investors is a common practice. The corporations release information through publications, annual reports, and financial results announcements. This transparent communication aims to inspire trust in sustainable growth and corporate performance. Similarities in communication practices exist, but differences may arise in the specific information shared and the channels used for investor engagement. And then the last one will be the communities. While the terminology differs, all three companies actively engage with communities, peer firms, industry groups, and non-governmental organizations, NGOs. BFood consults with NGOs and industry associations for expert advice. Mr. DIY promotes community welfare through local hiring and CSR campaigns, while In-Nature participates in community beneficial initiatives, skill training, and welfare programs. The choice of terminologies and the specific focus of areas within the broader category of other stakeholders may contribute to differences in their sustainability approaches. In conclusion, the sustainability statements of BFood, Mr. DIY, and In-Nature exhibit a mix of similarities and differences in their engagement with key stakeholders. These distinctions highlight the nuance and diverse strategies employed by each company to integrate sustainability into their corporate practices. That's all from me. Thank you.
In conclusion, based on the analysis that has been performed, all three companies have established clear mission and vision statements expressing their core values and goals. Berjaya Food Berhad is prioritizing its customer satisfaction is evidence, while Mr. DIY Berhad and In-Nature Berhad aim for a positive impact on all stakeholders. They express their commitment to creating a positive, performance-driven work environment that will boost employee motivation and satisfaction. In terms of ethical safeguards and visual values, all companies have their anti-discrimination policy in place. Berjaya Food Berhad focus on disability inclusion, In-Nature Berhad focus on youth and women empowerment, while there is no special emphasis for Mr. DIY Group Berhad. Next, each of the three companies have emphasized the importance of whistleblowing in expressing concerns about unethical or unlawful behavior within their organization. They provide employees with specialized avenues to report unethical behavior, such as email address, speak out channels, and even direct contact with their groups. For anti-bribery and corruption policy, All three companies have effectively developed and implemented them by following a zero-tolerance policy in their daily businesses operation and evaluating the ABC policy regularly. Among them, Berjaya Food Berhad has the most anti-corruption and bribery policy with its own zero-tolerance policy, acceptance of the trust concept, and assessment of the risk of corruption and bribery for intermediaries. In terms of corporate social responsibility (CSR), all companies undertake efforts to reduce their environmental impact through waste management, resources efficiency programs, and sustainability initiatives. In Nature Berhad is the most dedicated practitioner with a strong focus on environmental responsibility and well-rounded engagement with other areas of CSR. Reviewing Board of Directors structure from the perspective of composition, independence, diversity, and CEO duality, the board structure of Berjaya Food Berhad and Mr. DIY Berhad have complied with the MCCG and main listing requirements. All directors have successfully completed the mandatory accreditation program mandated by Bursa Security. However, due to a lack of directors' training, in Nature Berhad's board structure exhibit a low degree of compliance with the MCCG and main listing requirement. Lastly, all stakeholders in these three companies are vital to the sustainability of the organization. Their stakeholders encourage company towards sustainability through a combination of political action, pressure, incentives, and collaboration, wishing to generate a powerful force for positive change, pushing corporations to adopt more sustainable practice for the benefit of the environment, society, and the economy.